Come one, come all. We're coming to you as hot as the Sun City in El Paso, Texas. This is the Sun City Leatherheads Podcast. I'm JD Cercelli. This is Danny Ramirez. We're going to talk about some NFL free agency today. We're going to start with the offensive side. Danny, how we doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to get this rolling. We've been planning this for quite a bit. So
A long
it
time coming for
seems
sure.
like all my sports things are kind of like coming together at one time. So that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and excited to connect with other NFL fans. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait.
Yes. We're gonna just have a good time, talk about free agency, where people may go or who we think should, who people should get to like try to booster this. Obviously, have a little open mind and not just focus on both of our favorite teams. I'm a Dallas Cowboy. Tragically, I'm owned by Jerry Jones, and then you are a Chicago Bears.
That's right. I think it'd be exciting. I mean, this is our first episode. What do you think about talking about what made us NFL fans and why we have such a deep love for our teams? I'll let
Oh,
you start.
obviously you and I grew up in the '90s, right? So we live in a city in the state of Texas where it is a cowboy following, but my family, majority of my family, my brother, helped me grow the love of sports from baseball, football, et cetera, et cetera. Cousin a lot with hockey. But yeah, so the NFL football, I I'm a lefty, so then I had to learn how to like flick it, and then I throw a pretty pass. I just I hate losing, so which is ironic because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm just like when I'm out there, I'm playing like you and I have been out there playing ball with our friends, and just hang I get a little emotional at times, but yeah, just growing up, like I love the NFL number one first, and then a few others, like hockey's to me is second, but NFL to me is the GM, the head coach, the players, like the owner, like all that has to be one unified source, like a cell, like for it to actually work. Because anyone can have like great players on different teams or random teams, but just it clicks, right? So we thought that after Tom Brady was gone, it'd be a few years before another dominant regime would come in. But then like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid were like, hold my little pick, and then we're gonna just go show you what we can do. Because even from the '90s Cowboys, which was the dominant team in the '90s, even though they had a great Denver team who won 2 Super Bowls with John Elway, there's a lot of great teams in that decade. There was a few-year gap where other teams were winning differently, and it wasn't just a total dominant regime, or maybe like a 4-year span, 4-year, 5-year span. And then Brady took over with the Patriots, Belichick, Robert Kraft, built the regime, boom, they took off. So we were assuming, like I'm sure a lot of other people, like, oh man, Brady's finally leaving New England. Let's see if a team a few years down the road, could do the same thing. But it seems like the Chiefs are here to play for sure. 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. That's saying something.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff there, and I'm quite envious of that level of success, and I hope that that's something that I can experience once in my life, hopefully. But
Oh
I'll
man,
go
I
ahead and
know it's
start.
been way too long.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go ahead and talk about how I became a fan. So, like you said, right, growing up in the pretty much in the '90s, I would keep track of the teams that were successful during that time, but I didn't really start watching football until probably the 2000s. And so the funny story is what got me into football, the NFL specifically, is just the fact that there was a lot of cool video games back then. Madden was one of them, the Quarterback Club on Nintendo 64, and then
Yes.
NFL 2K series, right? So as I started playing those things, I don't know why, but I would always gravitate to the St. Louis Rams, and that was
You
the
you
first
did
team
love the
that
Rams when I
really,
met you, especially like the old regime of Kurt Warner and all them. Like they were, they're very
yeah,
showing reason. Oh, I love that team. I love Kurt Warner for all the
yeah,
things that he had to go through to get there and then win a Super Bowl. Like, there's a reason why they made a movie after him, right? He's
exactly.
he's oh, I love that dude.
what I love the most about that team is the fact that they were just so explosive on the offensive side, and that was just so fun to see. But then it was bittersweet because I grew like a level of fandom, I guess, with the St. Louis Rams, and then we encountered Tom Brady in 2001. So like,
Yeah,
that
he
hate for
came
Tom Brady.
crashing in and then just took over from there.
Yeah, but similar to you with the whole family playing a big role in your favorite team, I think that's kind of what happened with me, right? A lot of my family is from the Chicagoland area, and I've kind of always gravitated to the Chicago Bears, and just that love, right? The love of the defense, which is kind of funny. I love the
Chicago has
offense.
a
I love
great
the
city
explosiveness.
too.
Yeah,
That's
and
such a beautiful city.
that defense, like, just was amazing to watch,
Oh
and
man, Brian Urlacher. I mean, that dude was just
he's
uncanny.
all
He
time.
was so amazing. Yeah, that
But
Bears
yeah,
defense for a good minute. Even now, they still have some good stock in defense. They're just trying to get that offensive side to go.
yeah,
Speaking
that's the
of
thing. They
that, since
can't
we're
crack the
talking
nut.
about free agency and the offensive side, I mean that's a great way to start. Let's talk about your Bears.
So when we're talking about the free agent quarterbacks, I think that we both don't need free agent quarterbacks. Luckily, right? We have the Bears have Justin Fields, and most likely they're going to draft the Caleb Williams with that number one pick. So for me, I think it's just going to be interesting to see how these dominoes fall, right, with the quarterback. So Kirk Cousins, it seems like that's kind of what is keeping the Bears from trading Justin Fields. They want to know where he's going. That way, we know which teams are going to potentially trade up for Justin Fields, right? So right now, it's a unique situation. We have Kirk Cousins, who I feel is probably the best of the free agency class. Just I don't know. I don't I don't have any idea on where he's going to go. Yes, there's rumors about Atlanta, but I just don't see how that would fit. It doesn't make sense to me, right? Because they're an up and coming team. They're young. They have really good offensive pieces around them. And so if you think about a particular quarterback for that team, you think of Justin Fields, hometown kid. He's a runner. Bijan and him in the backfield. That's just explosive. Offensive production there. You don't know who's going to have the ball. Then you pair him with Drake London, and then they have the number 8 pick as well. Plus, you also have Pitts as a tight end. I mean, it just makes too much more. It makes too much sense to have him ship out to Atlanta.
Especially if Chicago doesn't tend to draft Caleb, right? Like, so if they go number one, they get Caleb Williams, then yeah, like you got to ship him out, make and get a little draft capital, maybe in the second round, third round. He's not going to be a number one overall pick just because you already have 2 first round picks, so no one's going to try to bite that apple. At least in our minds, but yeah, Atlanta would be a good thing, and then how the dominoes fall with all these quarterbacks supposed to be taking like all these down the line. Like you said, Atlanta still has a high pick. So can you imagine like Atlanta just stays patient and then Chicago drafts Caleb. Boom. Hey, is Justin on the board? Yeah, hey, like boom. He gets traded to Atlanta. You got Bijan Robinson, you said Kyle Pitts and Drake London. And then their defense was already good to begin with. Maybe like an offensive line or two, maybe their kicker. Man, maybe.
Young Hoku.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, his name is like, excuse me, he's got that awesome name. But let's say they're patient enough to wait, and then maybe they do get Fields. And then what if Marvin Harrison drops because of so many quarterbacks being taken early, and then Atlanta's able to get Marvin Harrison. And you got Marvin Harrison, Bijan Robinson, Justin Fields, Kyle Pitts, and London. Can you imagine that regime? Like that would
Yep.
be right then and there. They would probably be the at least the second to favorite of the division, at least. I mean, because that division, the NFC South, is so unpredictable for sure.
Yeah,
Speaking,
definitely. And you know
going
what?
back to the
It
NFC, going with the NFC South, Justin Fields and the whole thing. I mean, even Baker Mayfield is a quarterback that's free agent from that same division and the Buccaneers. So where do you assume he may land, or what do you think that's going?
Say that again about who?
Baker Mayfield, the Tampa Bay
Oh,
Buccaneers.
Baker. I think he ends up back with Tampa Bay. It just makes too much sense. He connected very well with Mike Evans and everyone, even Godwin. And it just seems like the team, kind of gravitated towards him. So I would say he probably goes back there. What do you think?
I totally agree. Like if they weren't able to get him again, like they got Mike Evans in a 2-year deal, 54 million. Like that, obviously they were not gonna even wait to let him decide. Like should I go shop around and see what I can do? They're like, we need Mike, and that's off to the Hall of Famer, soon to be Hall of Famer in the next 10 years, because like he's one of the most consistent receivers that people still don't talk about, which I don't understand. Um, he's what 10 straight years of 1,000 yards. I mean, some quarterbacks,
Yeah,
yeah, I get that he had Brady and Baker, but I mean, he had Jameis Winston early on. He had a few other quarterbacks when Winston was either hurt or sat. So I mean, like for him to do that 10 straight years with inconsistent quarterback play, like that says a lot.
yeah.
And yeah, I do believe that since they got Mike Evans back, it's like, hey man, like that's just another pull, another gravitational pull for to them to get Baker back. Because they surprised some people, but I think they could grow on that. They do have a decent depth, and like they're not a young team. Granted, they had Brady a few years ago to win Super Bowl, but I mean, like they still have experienced players that can get it done when it matters most. Like they've proven
Yeah.
it. Like Mike Evans, Godwin, Vita Vea, like there's players on that team that have been there, done that. So um, uh,
And the beauty of it all is that they drafted those blocks, those foundation pieces, right? So
oh yeah,
they still have free agency, they still have this upcoming
yeah,
draft.
they
So
built
I
from the
feel like,
ground up for sure. So,
yep,
and going back to your Bears and a little bit of history of like your fandom and stuff, ironically, which is funny, I'd always tell you ditch Mitch, right? Mitchell Trubisky. So he already found his new home. I don't know if you saw it, Buffalo signed him to a
yeah,
2-year
Buffalo.
deal. Or like, well, but when the calendar starts, they already approved that he's going to be a Buffalo Bill. So ditch. I mean, hats off to Mitch Trubisky. He has one of the best agents in the league for sure, because he has work, and he shows up. So
As an optimistic Bears fans, I always wanted him to succeed, right? So
yes,
like, I think at that point when he was still on our team, you know, the word around the NFL was that he was going to be a valuable backup in the NFL, and I didn't want to believe it then, right? I still had hope that he was gonna figure it out, but yeah, the way it's looking now, it seems like he's going to be that valuable backup, and he's going to a solid spot with the Buffalo Bills. He looked pretty good in the preseason a few years back with Buffalo, and then with Josh Allen, I mean, that dude just he doesn't get injured, which probably won't amount to much playing time for Mitch, but that's a good spot for him to land, I think.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like I mean, they say one of the best, if not the best, NFL gig in as a player is the backup quarterback. You're still gonna make some good cash, and you're not getting beat up all the damn time. So like I
Hmm.
mean, hats off to Mitch and a few other backup quarterbacks soon to sign. I'm sure. Like going back to Kirk Cousins, you're talking about that. Like you don't know where he's gonna go. He's an interesting piece, right? Like because there's so many people that like doubt him. Then he like shows good. Like last year before he got injured, I mean he was balling out. And if he didn't get injured, he would have honestly. His team was a bit struggling because you can't just do 2 years straight of winning by 1 point or 2 points. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
going to catch up to you. Like it caught up to them. It caught up to Philadelphia at the end of the season last year. But I mean, before he got injured, he had MVP stats. I mean, he was looking like Dak. He was looking like Lamar. Like he was shining bright. So
Yeah.
if he goes to a right system, and going back to your division, obviously Minnesota, like you're a Bears fan, so you kind of like, well, I'm sure you giggle about Minnesota a little bit because they're so weird. They have a great city, they have the great stadium. You know what I mean? They have so many flashy things that they can like just bring to the table, and yet they never go all out. They'll draft like one or two, three good people within a 7-year span, but they don't add for them. Like, like they get Justin Jefferson. That dude's baller. Like, all right. So then we lose a few others in free agency. Well, where's the capital? Like, bring more people. Where's the defense? Like, the defense
Yeah.
is what let Minnesota down the last 2 years. And I'm like,
Hmm.
if you can't have, like, Tony Romo syndrome, right? As a Cowboy fan, I always told all of y'all growing up with our friends and family, whatever, like, My quarterback can't score 35 every game and then watch his defense give up 42 and expect to win every game. And he's always going to be the last drive. He's either going to throw a pick. He's going to be a hero or a villain, right? Like, so I'm like, that's the same thing with Kirk Cousins. He's in that type of situation, Minnesota. Like, don't make him a villain every time because he has to be a hero every game.
Yeah,
So
no, and to your point with Kirk Cousins, I know that there's a lot of rumors about him going to the Atlanta Falcons, and I feel like Minnesota is probably his best place to be, just because he has that rapport with all his targets, right? And then now they have Jordan Addison. He wasn't
yes,
able to really use him last year because he got hurt, but Jordan Addison's going to be a great playmaker for the Minnesota Vikings, and just keeping that consistency, that level of understanding between those players, right? So I feel like that makes the most sense, even though he's a rival, right, in the NFC North, but it just makes all the sense in the world that he has that success, he has that city behind
I
him.
agree. Like
He should
he
just
has the commodity of all those young players already, especially the wide receiver group. You know, like maybe
Mhm.
draft a running back. I mean, look how many running backs are in free agency this year. Like, go help him out. Go get some players on defense. Going back to Atlanta, them being pretty good at defense, like Bates is going to be a free agent, I think. So I'm like, you go get a few pieces in Minnesota's back, like defensive backfield, and deep like help Harrison Smith. Like he
Yeah,
can't like you can't
yeah,
have
no, they
one great player and then expect to like do great things. Like that's just I mean, especially in the
they
NFL.
they need to build that defense around them. That's what they need to do. They got old in that side of the ball, but now
Yeah,
they have they have a great pick. They're not too far, they're not picking too far in the first. They can still get a really valuable defensive playmaker. And,
and I
there's a
think
lot of good free agents. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to build that defense around him. And they need
yes,
a
and
running back
then
now.
I agree. Cousins should go like Baker and Cousins should go back home where they were last year and just build off what they already did. And one thing
Yeah.
I always used to tell you and whoever else would listen, when you have something that's up and coming, don't crash it and try to rebuild to make it even better because it's going to backfire. The Raiders did it 10 years ago. I told you it was going to blow up against them. It did. The Jaguars, they went to the AFC Championship game. They blew up their team just to try to get better. I'm like, you don't change what's already working. You change things that are not working to build and connect with the things that are already working.
Yep.
So I'm like,
And the
Minnesota
offense
is a
is
sleeper
working.
team, but they just got to bring those, deep, be better defensively, and then you'll be right there in the division because obviously Green Bay surprised tons of people, and
Hmm.
Detroit is a monster. We talked about in the offseason. I told you like Detroit is just gonna like show out and then just surprise a lot of people, which they did. Of course, like the Bears are, in that state where they're in limbo. The as a realistic Bears fan you are, and as a realistic NFL fan, like they've been in limbo for the last 7 years. Like they just don't have an identity. 7 to 8 years, like hey, who are we? As soon as that great defense that you talked about, like was retiring, and then of course unfortunately, they lost to the Colts in the Super Bowl. But I mean, like after that regime was retiring and they had to rebuild, like they've been in limbo since of like who are we?
It doesn't help that they go through coaches every 3 years, and then they switch GMs, and then you know what I mean. So hopefully now with this, with our general manager Ryan Poles, I think it's going to be hopefully more
I
consistency in
like
that regard.
obviously it didn't show technically in year one, but in year one he actually did exceptional. He went out and did some gutsy moves in free agency, right? And he's
Yeah,
putting foot that 1 foot forward to make sure that you guys can start walking. Then after you walk, then you start running, and then see what happens
yeah.
after that. So I think he was the right guy last year when they hired him in the offseason because year two I think is going to be a major jump. And you all retaining your coach, like this is his make it or break it year. Like if he folds again, like there's no way to keep him and Caleb Williams together or him and Justin Fields together, depending where they go round one, right? So
Yeah.
like he has to step up and coach. Like there's just no doubt about it. Like you
But
can't have all these
this is actually year 3 for them, all of them together. This is gonna
Yeah,
be year 3. So, yeah, I mean, his to your point, his approach wasn't popular, right? Because a lot of fans just want to get instantly better.
right.
But he had to actually, let go of Khalil Mack, trade away Roquan Smith, and so those moves were not popular by many fans. But you got to look at the big picture, and what he's trying to do is build consistency, not just for 1 or 2 years, for 10 years. And
Yeah,
I
you
think
have to
that's
build the
that's what you
ground.
want as an NFL fan. You want that level of consistency. Just ask Chiefs fans, right?
Yeah, ground up foundation. Yeah, like they were one quarterback away from just doing what they're doing now, right? I mean, Kelsey
Hmm.
was already there. Andy Reid was already there. Like there's already pieces that were involved that were just like same thing with the Patriots way back then. Like even Bledsoe was good, but he got injured or whatever, and Brady took over. But even that team, that defense, like when Brady was young, like Brady every player is not an MVP or Hall of Fame as soon as year one, year two. Like they have to work at it. It's their own making of how they is why they make it to Hall of Fame. Because there's great players that will never make it to Hall of Fame because lack of work ethic, lack of challenging, lack of competitiveness. That are just like, oh, my talent will do everything. And it's
Yeah.
like Brady came in and he was young, and then that defense, Teddy Bruschi and all of them, like, yo, bro, like, just don't give up the ball, like, don't mess up, and we'll bring the game home because our defense is legit. Then after when Brady was more evolved, more into his veterancy years, then of course, then he could be like, all right, I'll take over. The defense doesn't have to do everything. I'll take over. And like it's all about competitiveness. So yeah, going back to the point, like Chicago is like trying to find that identity. All
What do you?
right, Russell. Where do you? Well, did you see that Pittsburgh is apparently eyeing him? Where do you
Yeah.
do you think that's a good fit, or how do you think that is?
Uh, I think they need to avoid him. Honestly, he's getting too old. Um, which doesn't make any sense for them to go that route. They have Kenny Pickett too, and so if you're gonna go for a veteran like Russell Wilson, then what are you telling Kenny Pickett? You don't believe in him, right? So I understand that even if they were to go for Fields, that they would still give that same message to Kenny Pickett. But I don't know. I just don't think that Russell Wilson. Again, you're just renting a player for hopefully, and you're shooting for playoffs or whatever. But you're not going to win a championship right now with Russell Wilson. So I just don't see the value in signing him.
I I'm like 50-50 to be honest, because Tomlin knows that he has to win at least one or two playoff games to keep going. Like, he's getting exhausted all these years over and over and over. Like the 9 wins, like being one game over 500 is not making him happy. So I
Hmm.
get where he's coming from. Like, man, we should try to win right now because I have the defense and then possibly some of the pieces on offense. And Kenny Pickett, right? He really hasn't shown much. I mean, he hasn't been on the field a lot either because he gets injured. But I could see where Tomlin and the GM and the ownership are like, hey man, like, so what do we do? Like, how do we take that next step? Like, is being like we talked about yesterday when we were rehearsing, right? Like 12, you can ask the San Francisco 49er players if they're happy of the results of what happened last year. They're going to tell you no. And ask 49er fans or Eagles fans or whoever that got further than other, like the Lions, further than other player or other teams. Like, hey, I'm like, we made Super Bowl? Like, dude, you lost. Like, it doesn't matter how far you go, like your first loser, second, or whatever. Like, there's only one team that celebrates. Right? So, um, players are getting set. Players are getting tired. Like TJ Watt's a baller. He's not going to sit around and just like watch a quarterback develop over and over and over after he gets injured or whatever. Like he wants to win, and I get it. Like, I mean, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers too. Like there's like maybe 5 teams in the National Football League that like are renowned all over the country and the world, and Pittsburgh's one of them in the NFL. And you just don't have one game over 500 4 years straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not them. That's not their identity. That's not how they've been even when Tomlin was succeeding and winning, 12, 13 games a year, being the number one seed, winning, one Super Bowl, whatever, all that jazz, it gets exhausting. Like, hey man, I'm putting in the work. Why? Who's not showing up, or who are we pointing the finger at this point? Like they're basically pointing at a finger. Like, who's the reason why that we're not where we should be? Because we're a damn good football team.
Yeah.
And of course, it'll go back to the QB1, and going back to, like I was saying, Chicago's like in limbo trying to find their identity. Like, honestly, Kenny Pickett's trying to find his identity because he's been in what, two offensive systems. He hasn't figured out either one technically. Like he
Well,
needs
Matt Canada didn't help either.
huh?
Matt Canada didn't help either.
Oh no, by all means, no. The offensive coordinating was just terrible, but that's how you lose a player. But you're just going to get more players, more coaches frustrated. The ownership frustrated. And
Yeah.
I think even if they bring Russell, it's more of a like, all right, Kenny, we brought in a vet that's proven, or you're going to prove yourself this year or not. I think that's what it is. More like, be like, yo, Russell, like if you want to, just kind of like sit here 2 years, back burner, or be his backup, whatever, and you're still going to get good money. They might go that route because obviously they don't have to pay Kenny Pickett it's like the Brock Purdy situation, right? So like you don't have to pay Kenny yet, and you can have a backup that's proven, or he can just jump in at the starting role and just all right, just go. And
Yeah.
I think that's what they're leaning on. Is just like you can't trust QB1, so we'll just get a quarterback that we can possibly trust 2 years. And like, I mean, I get your point. Like, it's a great point. Like, it's just like they're going to put themselves in limbo if it doesn't work, and it possibly can't. But that's a risk and reward. Like, dude, I'm tired of doing 10-8, 9-8, or whatever it is over and over and over. But yet we have these like Pro Bowlers and great players, and we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's uncanny. So they're frustrated, which I get. So yeah, that's why they're interested, because they're just like, we need something that we can rely on if the other thing is just not going to work.
Yeah. No, and I understand what you're saying. I guess the way I look at it is it's kind of like what we were saying earlier, that do you want to be consistent in your success, or do you just looking to win now? Because if you're looking to win now, okay, maybe Russell Wilson might be the option, right? But if you're looking for consistency, a quarterback to help build your team around, you're gonna want the young quarterback, whether that be Kenny Pickett, or whether that be Justin Fields, or whether that be a draft pick.
Another draft pick, or another potential person that's going into free agency, right? Like a younger quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just I'm as a Cowboy fan, I'm where the Pittsburgh Steelers are, like as an organization. Like, bro, I'm tired of in limbo. We need to win now. Like, if QB1 ain't doing it, it's over. Like, there's no point of paying $1 billion for one person that can't get past the divisional round. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I get where they're coming from as the frustration part. They're just trying to like see what they can do to better their chances to get past that limbo.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the sport, right? We're looking at it from different perspectives. You're looking at it from the frustrated part. I'm looking at it from more the optimistic, consistent success.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. And seeing that's the thing, your optimism, like you're a Bears fan, so you're like, man, we're like 2 people away, or like a head coach away from like making that leap. Pittsburgh's, bro, on the damn cliff. We should already be leaping. You know what I mean? Like that's the different takes that they're doing. It's like the Bears are like, all right, man, we're gonna crawl, and then we're gonna walk. And then Pittsburgh's like, yo, we've been jogging for a while. Like, when are we gonna get to that finish line? What's happening?
Yeah. And now they're starting to look at Mike Tomlin's way, saying like, hey, what are you gonna do about it?
Exactly. So I mean, I get that part where he's against the wall, just kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do something that I don't usually do. And that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's the NFL is such a gamble.
Yeah.
A few other sports, like you can have like a 2-3 great people, and then they can ride the tide and then just bring you a championship. NFL, like everything has to gel. Owner, like I said earlier, GM, coach, players, like all of it have to be won that year in order to win everything.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, we've been talking about free agent quarterbacks for pretty much like half of our show. Let's
Well, that's the
let's
most talked about position. So,
right, yeah, that's the most important position too on a team.
but
So let's go
I
ahead and jump.
honestly, oh,
Go for it.
I think this year's free agency and running backs is going to be so key to so many people's success going forward.
Tell me why.
Why? Because what happened to the 49ers when people ran the ball down their throat, especially quarterbacks and running backs? They could not stop them. So
Yeah,
you're telling me that, let's say, like you said, Atlanta, right? Let's go to Justin Fields, a running dual quarterback with Bijan Robinson. So then in free agency, I mean, you got Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard. I mean, there's a plethora of running backs can help you build, and Zeke Elliott, because I think he did a 1-year deal, right, for New England. So I mean, I think he's a free agent.
yeah,
So
he is.
there's players out there that you can like just ground and pound at this point. And especially if you have like a Brock Purdy situation, like you don't want to tell me that you. I mean, I would if I was in a Brock Purdy situation. Let's say Jerry Jones actually like woke up 30 years younger and was actually smarter and had a brain still. He would be like, I'm not gonna pay my damn quarterback who can't get past the divisional round $1 billion. I'm gonna go back and make sure he either takes a pay cut or I'm gonna get a discounted quarterback for maybe a 1 to 2 year, like maybe like the whole Russell Wilson thing. But I can build a super team around that person and a younger quarterback. If I'm getting Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard on one team, I'm 100% sold. Because I'm like, lately, how many people, like they always say running backs get injured, and then the season, like, oh man, like if Pacheco gets injured, that physicality of running, that the Kansas City Chiefs lose a lot of physicality because him and
Yep.
Kelsey are the two most physical people on that team. So
Yeah,
I'm like, you get him injured, like you take out 50% of that physicality of that team on offense. Like,
and he was injured this year,
huh?
right? He did get injured this year, and you saw a different looking
And they
offensive
lost several
production.
games. They didn't look good for a while, but once they got that physicality going again, and like where they just trucked people, that's when they started taking over again. And I'm like, there's so many running backs now. Like, granted, do some get hurt? Are they worth like a lot of money that owners don't want to pay? But I'm like, ask your quarterback when he needs a 3rd and 1 and he's getting gunned down because you're doing a stupid option right because you don't have a physical running back. You ask him if he's okay with them being a running back. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot of quarterbacks that are not as stocky as like a Dak Prescott or like as elusive as a Patrick Mahomes. They're gonna get trucked. And going forward, you got Michael Parsons, you got TJ Watt. Like each year they're evolving, they're getting faster, they're getting stronger. Like there's defensive linemen who can run as fast as the receivers. And you don't,
yeah,
and you want to tell me that a running back or a quarterback wants to stand there and be like, "Oh no, I want to be the physical person all the time." No. Ask Troy Aikman how he felt. He got retired because of his concussion, and he was all physical, and he
hmm
had an amazing team, and he still got beat down. So,
you got to
like
be smart.
this year in running backs is so key to, I think, to a lot of people's success. Like, hey man, like we're like a few players that'll just get us to the top. Like, why would you not want to get like 1 to 2 running backs that will just like help each other's load? You can even draft running back. Like I don't know. Like I would get a 3-head dragon right now if I was GM, honestly. Like at running back, because I'm like one of you all might get injured. Like Saquon, you're a beast, but you have injuries in your history. Josh Jacobs, you're a beast, but you have got nicked up a few games here and there. But I'm like,
hmm
I need something. We're going back to the reliability, right, of Pittsburgh, where they're like, dude, we don't know what we're doing. We need something reliable. We need a running back or two that are going to just make sure that it's there, that they're there the whole game, that are just going to pound and pound and pound. Because what happens when cold weather, when the playoffs start, like you need physicality. Dallas got truck run by Aaron Jones and that physical offense with their light linebacker, and the one's a safety, and Dan Quinn, like he let me down for sure. Like that, I lost my voice before halftime. Like I was so irate, but that goes back to physicality. Who was more physical in the playoffs and who won because of their physicality in the playoffs? Every team who was more physical at the end of the game of each playoff game, they were winning. They won.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the running backs this year, like, man, I don't know. Like, I'm excited to see where they go, but I'm also scared to see where they go because, like, unlike my GM, other GMs in my division are ready to pay other players, especially in that running back position. So I'm like, dude, oh my Lord. Like, if we can't get Henry, pray that I don't see him go to like a Philadelphia or Washington. You know what I mean? Like, because there's gonna be teams that are gonna throw the kitchen sink to a few of these running backs in the running back money era. But I'm so like
You
I can't wait to see these running backs where they go and like how it unfolds because
you
you're gonna
mentioned
see,
Derrick Henry.
huh?
Yeah, you mentioned Derrick Henry, and so with Derrick Henry, he makes sense in a lot of places. Honestly, just his physicality, the way he runs the ball. But if I
Yeah,
have to pick one NFL team to pay him, I would say it'd probably be the Baltimore Ravens, just because if you think about it, they have an elusive back already in Keaton Mitchell, and before he got hurt, he was explosive. He was producing, and he was a rookie. That was the most important. That was the most surprising thing. And then if you pair that level of shiftiness, elusiveness with somebody as
with the power
strong,
of a
yeah,
Derrick Henry. I'm
think
telling you,
about it.
like you need both at this point. Even when Pacheco, like you said, was injured in the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs, like Edwards-Helaire, he's more elusive, he's more quick, he's like that. And even they use Hardman the same way, like, hey, let's
Hmm.
get shifty, boom. Then he won the game because of the whole jet sweep right run out. But yeah, like you need physicality, and then there's a lot of running backs this year that's on the free agent market who's all physical. So I'm like, you add that to your already elusive backfield, which, like you said, Baltimore's won. Um, Going back to physicality, can you imagine like if the Houston Texans get Saquon Barkley, which he said he already had interest? You have C.J. Stroud, the two youngster
Yeah,
wide receivers, and Saquon Barkley in the backfield now with Don Schultz at tight end.
yeah. I know there's some rumors about Barkley to Houston. I just don't see how it fits because if you think about it, they already have Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce is pretty physical for the way
He's
he
good.
plays too. So why would you get two similar backs, right? Granted, he's on a rookie contract that might not affect him too much, but I don't know. To me, it just seems like going from a strong physical running back to a shifty running back. I think that's the way you need to approach it because it worked for the Cowboys years back with Pollard and Zeke, right? That was
Right.
the thunder and lightning combo.
Thunder and Lightning. Yeah, they were great. And then, oh, look at our GM just releasing one because he's stupid. But yeah,
It
going
just
back to
makes all the sense in the world.
no, I get you. Like the whole Houston thing. Like I guess because Barkley already said he'd have major interest. I think just because how good they looked, like in year one with that regime. So I mean, I could see why he would like to go there. But
I was gonna I was gonna tell you like we're talking about physical running backs, and I think the one that kind of stands out to me is probably a little shorter running back is Austin Eckler. I think that the way he runs, he's physical for his size, and he catches the ball, so
yeah,
he's quick.
he's such a multi-diverse running back. I love Austin Eckler, and I'm a like I'm an Oregon Duck fan, so I've been following Justin Herbert forever. Like that's my boy. But the Chargers as an organization, of course, the head coach was garbage. Like I'm so happy he's gone. Harbaugh's there. Like what's sad is that Harbaugh didn't get to use an Eckler because now he's gonna go really test free agency, right? Like he's gonna go like like because he's mad,
He'll
which I
sign.
understand. Like I understand where Austin's coming from because he's frustrated. He's mad. They did not use him properly. They didn't pay him properly. Like even before Herbert was there, Eckler was a
Yeah.
every down back dude, and he tore it up every time. And I'm like that's one
He
player. There's so many players, right? We're talking about like they just don't get used correctly in an organization every year. Like every team, there's a player that's out there, especially if they're like a grade A player. You're just like, dude, like what are you doing? Like you when we rehearsed yesterday, like why did the Giants trade for Darren Waller? And then like it was nothing. Like I mean, what happened?
Yeah, now he's retiring, maybe potentially.
Is that what they said?
Oh, that he's thinking about it. So
See what
I
happens?
mean,
You go to the Giants and now they want to retire. Like.
yeah, it does makes
And
no
that's what I'm
sense.
saying.
But
Like you don't trade for someone and then not use them. And like I said,
yeah,
like it start. You said yesterday it starts with system, and they he got a little nicked up and injured. He has injury issues. But I'm like,
hmm
if I'm going all out with one player on that trade, homie better be handicapped without playing. And two, like I'm throwing your ball even if you're in a wheelchair, bro. Like because I traded for you. Like we're gonna use you. Like I don't care what you're doing. Like we gave up capital for you, we gave up money for you. Like we're gonna use
suiting up.
you. Yeah, like same thing with Austin Eckler. Like don't misuse your value. And
Yeah,
the
no,
Chargers
that's
did for sure.
to your point. I think that's probably the most interesting position that I want to see play out. Right, see where everybody goes, and I just think there's a lot of question marks, and there's a lot of fits too with these running backs going to other teams. So it's going to be interesting for sure. But let's go ahead and move over to the wide receivers and tell me it, from I guess from a Cowboys perspective, right? I know that Gallup is a question mark there, but are there any free agency or free agent wide receivers that have caught your eye for the Cowboys?
I've always liked Tyler Boyd. Like I know we talked about Gabe Davis yesterday, which I'm down with. Like Boyd can get nicked up at times, but like if I can trust someone on a 3rd and 17 in the end zone that won't drop the ball, I love Gabe Davis, but man, I mean, his hands sometimes look like little jelly because it just like whoop, and then the ball's gone and he drops it, right?
Yeah.
So Dallas, what have they been saying for years? Like, man, Dallas is just not physical. Dallas is just not physical ever, ever, ever. Offense and defense, blah blah blah. Micah, Lawrence, Ferguson were probably the top 3 defense or top 3 physical people we had on the team. 1 on offense, 2 on defense, and not as an overall team, right? We're not
hmm
loud, we're not angry, we're not physical. Tyler Boyd, he's a big body and he would help that physicality in the trenches, especially in our goal line. What did we lack early in the season last year? Goal line touchdowns, even though they were like knocking up some wins. But I'm like, dude, get in the damn end zone. One, it goes back to that physical back that we were talking about, and two, like that big body of receiver, like throw it in the air, like Gerald Everett. Like there's so many physicality players this year in free agency. Like I'm so excited for. So Tyler Boyd to me, I want to see where he goes. People are saying Gallup's gone or whatever, and then okay, go get him. He's a physical receiver, especially in the end zone.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? The great thing about Boyd too is that he's fast. So if you want to pair, size with speed, I think he's a good player for that.
Exactly.
Um,
Like and receivers, like the best ones were the speediest, but the thickest. I mean, Megatron, he could flat out run, and then the dude would just palm it with one hand.
he was a different breed.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, just if we need physical people, then we need to go get physical people. Like I'm tired of us like, well, we're gonna go all in, and then we're like, hey, we'll just go in the draft. And I'm like, dude, that's not gonna work. We've been building a team. Same thing with Pittsburgh, right? When that frustration of like we're there, but we're not there. And I'm like, we're building a damn team every year. And it's like, oh man, here we go. And of course, Dallas is America's team, so we're in the media. We're in
I don't know about that.
fans trolling fans. Hey, It ain't me that made up the nickname; it's the whole country. But like
Sure.
we're talked about through the whole world, and yet we rather stay mediocre. Like I don't understand. Like I don't understand. Like I don't care that we won 12 games 3 years straight. Like I don't care about that. Like get to the NFC Championship game, and then we can talk about success.
Yeah. That's the Jerry Jones effect, honestly. I just don't think that he's smart enough to realize that kind of stuff until year
Well,
3 or
not
year
at his
4 with
age.
that player.
I mean, him and Jesus are cousins. Like I swear, dude. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. Like it's so frustrating. Like I can't give a quarterback $500 million when I'm trying to get a physical receiver. I have to bring another. I have to get 2 running backs in free agency probably because Pollard's a free agent, and then like our defense was not physical at all. You know what I mean? Like there's so many
Yeah.
things, but yeah, going back to your receiver thing, Tyler Boyd to me would be great. Going to you, like what receiver would you like to possibly get, or like where you like to see who goes where?
You know what? As far as the Bears go, I don't know. There's a lot of good receivers too. I don't want them to overpay right now for a wide receiver like a Marquise Brown or Calvin Ridley. I think yes, they're really good. They're explosive, but I don't know. To me, I just feel like they need like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a switch army knife, right? Some a receiver that can be used for reverses, can be a good slot receiver. And the one that comes to mind for me is going to be Curtis Samuel. I think that he can be used in so many different ways. He has that chemistry with DJ Moore already. They know how to play off each other. I think that one just makes a lot of sense. Another one is probably from New England, Kendrick Bourne. He's a very shifty wide receiver. Hasn't really had the production, but I just feel like he hasn't
He
had any
hasn't had
help
the
with the
chance,
quarterback. Exactly. So I think he probably deserves a better opportunity with the new team, whether it be the Bears or someone else.
right?
But I just think those two stand out to me, and from a cost perspective, I think it's not going to be very expensive, and you get a productive player.
Going back to your cost effective, right? So like Ridley and you said Goodwin, right? Or Hollywood Brown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brown.
That Boyd would be cheaper than those two, and like
Yeah, for sure.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so it'd be perfect for Dallas. You get Lamb, Cooks coming back, and then Boyd and the physicality, like when the goal line where we need, like that. To me, that would be ideal. Then even if we still like keep Gallup as a maybe, you have Gallup, Tolbert, Lamb, Boyd, and Cooks. Like that'd be ideal.
Yeah, definitely. It just makes a lot of sense to go that route because even the wide receivers coming into the draft this year, there are so many different types of receivers to choose from. You have your big athletic type, you have your shifty ones. Look at Xavier
Yeah,
Worthy in the combine. That dude beat the freaking 40 time.
dude,
And
that dude flew like he was so fast.
yeah,
I'm like, it's so, and that's what I'm saying. Like like so many people now are fast, right? Like it's just like it's even Tom Brady's faster than he was in his damn combine. So I'm
yeah,
like the enhancements that we have, or whatever we drink now, whatever there's people that are getting more healthy. That's where the physicality part comes into effect, unfold because everyone's fast. But who's going to be the one that wants to get hit or give the hit is what's going to keep you from getting the championship or not getting the championship.
yep. Yeah, you're never going to know. You're going to come down to that physicality when you need that first down and you need to
Yes,
stretch for it, right? So it's not just touchdown, it's being physical in all aspects of the game, right? So yeah, I
right.
agree with you there for sure.
And Michael Irvin would say it best too. He's like, man, like touchdowns are gonna come. He goes, my job as a wide receiver for any team was to make a first down, was to get yardage so we can get to where we needed to get to. And that's how. And people look past that part now. They're just like, hey, let's go 99 yards in one play, woo! But you can't do that all the damn time. Like it's just one, it's by luck sometimes. Two, it's like
Yeah.
a strategic mishap by the defense, honestly. But
Yeah.
it's like, get 5 yards, get 7 yards. That's what Brady and some of the like iconic geniuses of our game how evolved because people had to get faster because they were throwing 5 yards, 7 yards. They were just giving what the defense took. So now you have a Michael Parsons or TJ Watt or, like people that had to get faster so they can just go clamp on that 5 yard, 7 yard throws because If you get that one, like a Tyreek Hill, right? You get him in a 5-yard hitch, and that first person misses the tackle, what happens? Tyreek Hill's like, yo, peace
To the
out, I'm
house.
out. Yeah, so like everyone has to get faster, but it depends that physicality, like who's gonna take that one stick or give that one stick that's gonna be needed to get you to that next step, you know?
Yeah. And to your point, you brought up Tom Brady, and I think he's a perfect example for this kind of conversation just because he was a genius if you think about it. The way he approached the game, right? It wasn't about the big play, it was about getting that first down and eventually getting to the end zone. So when he had all these receivers coming in, even though they would draft receivers down like late in the draft
Yeah,
or they
fifth
went
round, sixth
undrafted,
round, and then he would
yeah,
make them look like geniuses.
but he knew that that's the type of receiver he wanted, and that's who he groomed to be his receivers, right? So your Julian Edelmans, your Danny Amendolas, those types,
Oh,
yeah, they're not the most gifted, but they were the most physical, and they were the ones that were smart, just like him. And so
right,
that's why he actually won a lot of games. He won a lot of Super Bowls, and now with Mahomes, what he had the luxury because he came into the league with Tyreek Hill. He already had not Jason Kelsey, Travis
Travis
Kelsey.
Kelce, yeah,
Yeah, he had all these weapons, Nicole Hardman. So he had the speed, he had the playmakers to go and have those big plays. As soon as they got rid of Tyreek Hill, they got rid of Nicole Hardman. He had to figure out how to use his receivers, right? So they
right,
drafted that rookie,
and yeah, it goes back to like you have to evolve again, you have to adapt, and then, but yeah,
but
like
he's smart. He's smart.
give,
He figured it out just like Tom Brady did. So he is finding different ways to win within the NFL. And look, it leads to a third Super Bowl for him.
and that's
So
why I get
that's
mad at Dak because he
yeah,
gets too comfortable in the same thing over and over, and I'm like, no, dude, like it's not always gonna be there. That's why you throw pick sixes because you throw the same thing over and over. Like
yeah,
evolve, get quicker. Like I don't know the mentality. Like his quick passing was way better this year, and that's what dropped the interceptions and led to more touchdowns. But still, like there's times where he gets comfortable. It's like, hey, well, this worked last time with Lamb last game. Let's try it again. Like no, like you got to give what the offense or give what the defense gives you, and then attack it that way. And
exactly.
I'm gonna say it right here too. Like I hate when they're like, "Well, he's a system quarterback." I'm like, bro, Tom Brady is the most systematic quarterback in the history of the NFL, and all he did was win 7 Super Bowls. So don't give me that whole like, "Well, he's a Brock Purdy or whoever is a system." I'm like, every quarterback goes into every year learning a new system, and he has to abide by that system. So every quarterback is a
Yeah.
system, but yeah, like I'm like, I don't care if he's a system quarterback. If that dude gets me to the Super Bowl, like I'm down with it. Like I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't throw one pass a year. If that quarterback leads us to a damn championship, I don't care what he does.
No, and I guess to kind of end with the Tom Brady conversation here, I just think that he knew how to play the game. He knew how to approach it. He knew how to study for it. He learned how to manipulate defenses the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to that, right? And so that's what worries me, honestly, about Caleb Williams, just because he has that big play mentality, and I
Yes.
want him to not have that big
He
play
does
mentality in
that
the
whole
NFL.
like, all right,
He
let's
needs to be
let's,
smart.
let's sell some tickets and score, but like you can't always do that.
Yeah. So hopefully he develops that trait too, but time will tell.
Right. So tight ends, I guess now, right? Let's see.
Yep, tight ends. So honestly, like I know we both have pretty solid tight ends in our teams right now. I guess from our team's perspective, right? We're trying to see who we would dump some money on, and I think that there's a lot of solid players, some that have been proven, with like Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, but honestly, like I don't feel like paying. I know the Bears already paid Cole Kmet a pretty hefty amount, so I don't see the value of paying another tight end a high amount of money as well. So I think that perhaps the best route for the Bears is either should draft a tight end, or if they want to just get somebody who's experienced, I would say like an Irv Smith Jr. Irv Smith Jr. started his time with the Vikings and didn't have much success at all there. And then he was with the Bengals I think the last 2 years I want to say. So I think that he's young. You can kind of mold him to how you want to use him. So I wouldn't splurge here if I was the Bears. I would go with somebody more cost effective.
Who do you who do you think is one tight end away from making that big step of making like maybe another 2 or 3 games more, like with victory or maybe in the play? Like what team needs a tight end that just like will just like boom, there it is. Like they might catch it.
I think it's gonna be Noah Fant. If you think about it, his time in Denver, he didn't have much success there. He was kind of,
He was better in Seattle
yeah,
because
he was.
he was utilated way better.
Yeah, definitely. He was used appropriately. He had more consistent targets, and I think that's what he needs. He has all the skill in the world to be effective.
Okay, going back to all that with Seattle to Denver, two players basically did the same jump. So if you're Noah Fant, do you follow Russell Wilson to wherever he goes?
I don't think so. I think he needs somebody better. He needs a better quarterback there. And there's a lot of situations that he can go to, right? If you think about it,
What team do you think would be like exceptional if they got him and then they would be like playoff worthy or like maybe Super Bowl contending?
oh, that's a good question there. You're gonna make me think. Let's see. Let me look at the teams real quick. Um, honestly, I think Baltimore. Baltimore comes to mind. If you think about it nowadays, teams like to use two different tight ends. Look at the Buffalo Bills, right, with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid.
They
Um,
were good, man.
yeah, and
Let me it's kind of in your division and it was actually a
Detroit.
really surprise at the end. But can you imagine like adding a Noah Fant to what the young Green Bay core has already evolved to?
Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, yeah,
That would be pretty dangerous.
I would hate to see it, and honestly, that's what they're missing. They're missing a good tight end.
That's what I'm
So
saying. Like, can
yeah,
you imagine like a Noah Fant and then what they already grew from last year? I'm like, I don't know. That'd be kind of scary.
let's not speak that into existence. Let's see.
As a Bears fan, I'm definitely not hoping for it for you, but I'm just saying, like, there's well on the AFC who would I mean,
And the
man,
AFC. I mean,
can
look at
you
the Texans.
imagine an healthy Aaron Rodgers and a Noah Fant?
Yeah, that's a good one. They just
That would
released
be pretty good
CJ.
too. And
They
speaking
just
of tight ends, in the same division of the AFC East, Jonnu Smith already agreed to go to Miami, so that's
yeah,
one tight end already off the board.
and he was an underrated tight end, a free agent tight end. I think
He's
he would have.
so underrated.
He's so athletic. I think he makes a lot of sense
And can
with
you imagine,
Miami.
like, yeah, Tua, Tyreek, like
Yeah,
that's gonna just add to their moxie of like elusiveness.
for
And
sure.
plus, he'd be a big body when they're in the goal line, like first and 10, third, like you know what I mean, like by the goal line area, he'd be a good body for it.
Yeah, I just think like the teams that I've kind of mentioned off, like the Ravens, have a solid quarterback that would be, productive for Noah Fant's production.
Right.
And then you also have Houston. I mean, CJ Stroud showed he can deliver that ball. I know they already re-signed who was it, Dalton
Schultz,
Schultz?
yeah, Dalton.
But I mean, I think Noah Fant's actually a little bit better than him.
Yeah,
There's
wherever
just a
Noah
lot of
Fant goes, he's gonna definitely help a team for sure.
yeah. But honestly, I could see the Green Bay Packers one making a lot of sense. That was a good one
Yeah,
for sure.
that'd be dangerous. You got Watson and and then Aaron Jones, Dylan, and then Noah Fant in the middle. That'd be
Yeah,
dangerous.
that'll be fun.
Well, not for you,
All right,
but yeah.
let's
Whew.
talk about free agent offensive linemen. I know that the Cowboys are releasing a lot of, or not. I
No,
shouldn't
like
say a lot.
we're just like
Tackle,
apparently they believe
center.
number four is the second coming to Jesus or something because I'm like we're just not gonna block him. We're just gonna he's gonna get
He'll
us to
be
the promise.
fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll get to the promised land even though he's never won 2 playoff games in his career. But whatever, like I don't. It's they are so frustrated. Like we were rehearsing yesterday. I told you like this is the first year where like I don't have any excitement. I have like I don't not that I'm excited. I love the Blue Star more than pretty much how I am. I love the Blue Star pretty much more than life itself. But that being said, I'm watching the GM stumble over and over and he's the owner. Like he's garbage. He can't do anything right. He's gonna pay a quarterback $500 million when he can't get past the divisional round. and then you're not going to be able to build a team around him. Like, that makes no sense because he doesn't want to take a pay cut. Like, he's already getting paid. He sleeps on a damn mattress and gets paid. Like, tell him, take a damn pay cut, or like, we're going to have to figure out something else because we're trying to build a franchise for America again. If we are legit America's team and we're $10 billion, then we should act like we're $10 billion. You know what I mean? Like, if $10 billion, we should act like we're with 10 billion, not just be like, oh well, we made the playoffs every year, woo, yay, and we're bounced out by everybody every time. And then now we're just gonna get rid of all, Tyron Smith is gonna be out, Tyler Batty-Ash is out, and then I heard like Bass and Hoffman or whatever, like they're comfortable that they have to be starters, and I'm like, but how comfortable are we? Because they've never been in that position to be like, you're the it guy the whole year, and then a center is a key person in any team. That's the Eagles. They just lost their number one captain for 15 years he was in the league or whatever. Like, he's an amazing individual, main talent, Hall of Fame career. And I'm like, they just lost their true leader. And it's the same thing with like Tyler Batty. Like, it's scary to think like we're just gonna like hope for the best on our offensive line, and now since we're gonna hope for the best, now we might draft an offensive lineman at number 24. Like, I don't want that either. Like, I want us to be balls to the wall on the defensive side this year in free agency and in the draft, because that's where we lacked at the end. But now, if we're gonna release offensive people, especially offensive linemen, where do we go? Like, then we're gonna have to pick up one or two people somewhere either in the draft or free agency. And
I guess to your point,
I want to keep Tyler Batty-Ash, but he is going to be he's going to ask for a good market.
How expensive? Does he deserve top center money?
At this point, you can. It's hard. I think it's just as hard to find a great center to lead a team as much as a quarterback at this point, this day and age. Because if you don't have, like you said yesterday, you know how it feels like to not have a good center in Chicago. And I'm like, you have a scrambling quarterback, and if he can't get out of people's way because of that center, then like, that's tragic. You know what I mean? That spells complete bad.
Yeah, I agree. But there's just a lot of good opportunities in the draft for improving the offensive line. But center, to your point, when is it likely that a rookie center comes in and is effective, right? Usually there's trials and tribulations there.
Well, there was one, and poor guy got an illness, a rare illness, and that was Travis Frederick. I mean, hands down, he was one of the at least top 4 centers, right? When he got drafted, like, there's no doubt, like, that dude was just a baller. Then he gets that rare illness, and like, I agree that I would probably retire too. Like, I want to hang out with my family and not jeopardize my health. So, like, but yeah, like you said, like, who comes in is just an all-time Pro Bowl, like, Hall of Fame center right from the jump. Like, it is so hard, especially in the schematics of the NFL. Like, high school, it's talent versus non-talent. In college, coaching and talent versus coaching and non-talent. And then in NFL, it's like, it's man-to-man, bro. Like, I'm going to whoop you until you can whoop me. And it's going to be pretty rough for if they can't get an offensive lineman center from the jump. Like we talked about the kid from Oregon.
Yep.
I would love him, but him to drop all the way down to 24 without anybody else taking him, that's going to be a long shot.
I think it's a long shot. I think he got, this combine really did him a lot of favors, right? I think a lot of people have him on their draft board. So
going back to what I just
said, makes a lot of sense, though. That would be like the perfect landing spot if you think about it.
If he landed to us, then my little excitement would be like, whoop, like it'll like a little nudge, yeah. But like, if we can't go after free agency because of our cap space, because of our quarterback, then I mean, I don't have any faith, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna die with my team, but honestly, it's gonna be the first year where I'm not gonna expect I mean, I don't know. I'm scared. We play the NFC North, who's a gauntlet. Our division hates us, obviously. Like we're the NFC East, so everyone's hating that division. I forgot the other division we play on the NFC side next year, but we play San Francisco again, and I'm like, dude, if we're playing the defense in Baltimore, we're playing the defense of Pittsburgh, playing the defense of Cleveland, playing the defense of Cincinnati. The Eagles defense ain't no joke. I mean,
That's
we
gonna be a
play the
tough season.
Niners, huh? Yeah.
Tough
So I'm
schedule.
like, we have to protect four. If we're not gonna like change his damn outcome with his money, and we're gonna give him whatever he wants, we got to protect him. But if we can't protect him, there's no way. Like we're gonna just destroy our $500,000 for nothing.
It's a risky approach, but you know what? There's a lot of good free agents as well, and I think like to your point with the centers, depends on how much money the Cowboys have in their cap space. But like a Connor Williams, right? He got hurt late last year, and he was actually I think rated one of the top centers in the league.
Yeah, he's like number
Uh,
one probably.
so he makes a lot of sense. I mean, yes, he might need to recover from that, but if you might get him at a discount because of that. So I think that for both of our teams that need centers desperately, I think that that would be a good option for both of us. Another one that's an up and coming is Lloyd Cushenberry from I think it's the Broncos.
Yeah,
He's actually proven himself. He started off to your point with the rookies coming into the NFL, right? He struggled a little bit at the beginning, but now he's actually figured it out, and he's young. He's also rated one of the top centers in the league. It's just, I mean, yes, you can probably have to overspend for these types of players, but I'm not too familiar with Tyler. I can't pronounce his name.
Addy
Biadish.
Ash.
So how was he as a center? Was he pretty effective?
Good effort, dude.
I'm not even gonna try.
I loved him honestly. Like you go with the core of value, right? So for what he was worth compared to who he was next to, I loved it because you go from Travis Frederick to like, oh my God, we're gonna need another center, to him holding his own next to probably one of the best guards, if not the best guards in the NFL, Zach Martin. So I'm like,
Mhm.
he stood tall because we drafted Tyler Smith also. So I'm like, he stood tall. So I'm like, he had to stand up and prove his value next to those two. And I think he did because he was one of the reasons why we didn't get like Terrence Steele on the right tackle side. Like, I mean, that dude is so dangerous. I'm always afraid that he's going to give up a sack, going to get that killed. And then left side, it's either like injury, like, Tyron, let's see how healthy he is. But like the front three, the middle three, they pretty much
Solid.
stood up to their task, and that goes with Tyler. Like Tyler stood up to his task. Like Terrence Steele was the one that pretty much let people down last year. And plus, people want to talk about Gallup, like with his contract and letting people down. Like to me, Terrence Steele to me let me down way more last year than Gallup did, because Gallup is at least like a receiver core that's 3, 4, 5, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they do slots. There's different positions. Like Terrence Steele, you paid him a ton of cash on right tackle because you thought he was like the next big thing at right tackle, and then this just like gets torn up on certain games, and I'm like, where you at, bro? Like that's more consistent because he's at least a starter. Gallup is like, like paying on the formation and package, like he may not even be playing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I think Tyler worth where he gets. Bro, go lay down. Oh, you're dropping
So
my mic.
I was
Go
gonna
lay down.
say I don't know if you saw Mitch Morse from the Buffalo Bills. He got released, and maybe
Another
he's a
one
good
from
replacement.
Buffalo.
Yeah. So he could be a guy to
What is
keep
he
an eye on.
playing?
Center. He's a
Dude,
center, so
how does Buffalo survive this? Because
I don't
man,
know.
you know what? It's gonna be like a Philadelphia effect, to be honest. Because Philadelphia tried to do the same thing last year. Like, hey, let's just get rid of a few players and just kind of like go to the draft and like be sneaky, and then like still have the same oomph. But I'm like, young players compared to veterans, like maybe they are faster and a little more physical than the veteran, but that IQ level where push comes to shove and like things get a little weird and things don't go your way, like that old veteran is outsmart that young player every time. And like Buffalo's shred some like water that like are they gonna be able to succeed or they're gonna fall flat face?
It's a risky game for sure. I think that they kind of had to do it, right? They were under the cap, so, or I should say over the cap.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. It's just you're getting rid of a lot of good, solid players like Tre'Davious White, the cornerback.
Poyer was the most
Granted,
interesting to me.
Poyer. Yeah. I mean, that's the secondary, and
I would love a Poyer on my team. My goodness.
meets. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about that next week for sure because we'll be talking about the defensive side. But yeah, that's definitely a guy I want the Bears to try to get to replace Eddie Jackson. But what about tackle? I know you mentioned Tyron Smith being was he released or is he just not being re-signed?
Um,
He was released, right?
he's a free agent, so it's just being re-signed, I guess. Which
Okay.
I honestly think that they'll go draft in that route. Like I think they'll just put Tyler at left tackle, and then they'll draft another guard, maybe in the second or third round, just because like they have trust in Brass from Oregon. But I'm like I said, or Bass. I think it's Bass. That's from Oregon. It'll be his second year because he went undrafted to us and he balled out. Like Oregon has a lot of good offensive linemen. Like it's not just the center that's coming out in this draft, but like last year Bass went undrafted and Dallas picked him up and he when his number was called, he stood tall. So I even if they don't draft one early in the draft, I think that they'll just basically move Tyler left tackle, and then Bass will go to the left guard. And then center obviously is just the mulligan that we have to wait and see because the center is the most important part. Like we just got to see what they do to him.
I think that's the biggest piece missing for both of our teams, right? Is that center and what they're gonna do.
Yeah, the free agency. Sheesh. Like, well, we had one. You're still trying to find one, and it's like, dude, what are we doing?
Well, we may have found one this week. I don't know if you saw the news, but Ryan Bates was traded from the Buffalo Bills to the Bears for a 5th-round pick, and apparently he plays center and guard. He's kind of a swing.
Oh, he's
interior
a
lineman.
threat.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're playing this game as the Bears have been doing the last couple of years, right? Getting second stringer to come play center. That's a toss up. You don't know what kind of production you're going to get, and so
it's a dangerous game.
For sure, especially if you have a rookie quarterback.
Okay, going back to your thing too, like you're assuming just like everybody, plus because of media and reporters, and you have the number one pick. You can't get Caleb Williams and then get him destroyed year one and year two because then it'll be just like goes all over again. Like it's just, his morale is just gonna fall.
Yeah, you mess up the development. The track of his development.
Yeah,
and
so you better hope
bad habits.
that person that you're picking is gonna, excel.
Yeah, we need to build around him. Year one, he has to have a solid foundation around him. If he doesn't, it's gonna probably not be as successful as they're anticipating it to be.
Right. Are there any other positions or any special player on the offensive side that you're looking to see where they go?
Honestly, like I think we touched on all of them, but if I had to just choose one that we didn't really discuss, it would probably be Josh Jacobs, just because I mean I can see him resigning with the Raiders. I think that I don't think he's opposed to that idea. But just like the different teams that are out there, right? You're going from the potential, you have the ability to go from a losing team to a perennial playoff team. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world for Josh Jacobs. He has,
for sure,
and he has been hurt, but not as much as Barkley, not as much as Eckler. So I think that for both of them, I just think that I don't know. I would, if I had to pick from these guys, from the free agents, running backs, I would say I would go Josh Jacobs just because of the potential, right? I don't think he's reached his full potential.
Right. And going back to your Switch Army knife theme and like segment, I believe I read it right yesterday when I was like looking up different free agencies by position, whatever. I think Taysom Hill's a free agent, and
Is
that
he
that is
really?
that is the most if it was right and I read it right, yeah, because I was going to buy on ESPN Brian Walworth something Wall something, but he's going position by position and like by tiers of like who's like he had Kirk Cousins obviously like top one in a quarterback, but he didn't even have him at tier one. He had him at tier two, and then everybody else was like
Hmm.
tier four. But Taysom Hill's name, I think, was on the tight end position or something. So maybe he's gonna be afraid he might be released or something that like someone that's gonna be moving around. I would love someone like him too because like I mean you can run him, you can pass, you can throw a ball, he can catch
Hmm.
like that'd be kind of to see where he goes because there's some coaches that could utilize him so perfectly that I mean it would help them tremendously.
A coach like Jim Harbaugh, perhaps.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like him and her together, that would be awesome. And then yeah, like you can like Harbaugh would definitely like do it with him because he would be like, all right, what do you want to do right now? Like Harbaugh likes to play gutsy anyway. Um, I don't know. So, oh man, I love this time of year and I don't at the same time because one, I can't watch the sport and I can't be streaming at the TV because of the Cowboys. But I also loved like the potential of what's to come. Like we don't know. Like this is just some like beautiful. This is like like we're gonna credit all the people from ESPN, Fox, all like they're people that we look up to and we watch, and it's just like we're just like them. They have the insights. They have people in the organization that they talk to all the time. We're like completely on the outside. Like we have no idea who's talking to who unless they like it brings it up in like a bar, bars of free agency. But I'm excited. There's going to be so many changes this year, and probably one of the most changes in like the last, I would say, 7-8 years, from quarterbacks to running backs to receivers to like. There's going to be a domino effect like another, and I think that there are some players that are like truly loyal to people that they like are people that they have enjoyed watching or like they're actually friends with. So let's say like they were talking about Russell Wilson. Is he the Russell of old? No, but like there are gonna be people that do like if he can be like 70% of old Russ with my young talent running or receiving, then why did I not try this experiment? And they're gonna get paid. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's gonna be players that even see like who goes where, like, hey man, I could go play with so and so because that's what Odell did.
Yeah.
Like Odell had obviously he wanted to go play in Dallas or a contending team, and then Baltimore giving the most money. So it's like he waited and he's like, man, I can go play with Lamar, I can go play with the new kid. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's the potential in this free agency is just like everyone's gonna wait to see what domino goes first, and then they're gonna be like, oh man, should I go play with him too? Because there's gonna be so many spots open on so many teams this year. Like you can go and do like pretty much what A. Brown and Hurts did, even though that they like, traded for Brown. But like now you can have leisure of like just choosing like, yo, I want to play with him. He's a baller. Like you know what I mean? I want to go
Yeah.
help him win because I know he's gonna help me win. So like this is a
And
unique running back receiving like type of group of the quarterbacks.
for sure. And I think to your point, I think that's going to be the most common theme going forward. I think that's how a lot of the most veteran, position players are going to approach their free agency, right? They're going to be waiting to see who goes where, how their teams are kind of shaping up and building, and then from there they're going to
Right.
decide to go with the contender, right? Because that's the ultimate goal. They want to win a championship, and
Yeah.
so
And there's
uh,
and
I
then go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's just smart. It's a smart approach.
And the reason why I think this one is so key this year is because of all the people that are in free agency. There's usually people that are like a big still they're on the back end of careers, right? Like
Yeah,
they're like, hey man, I just need one more championship. I just need that one championship, like Matthew Stafford. I just need that one because I'm in the back end. It's almost there. There's so many middle of the pack career people this year in free agency where it's like, bro, like I'm a Josh Jacobs. I can go play with the Tyler Boyd and Eric Cousins. And like we're all in the middle of like we can be there for another 6-7 years and ball out together. Like you know what I mean? There's
yeah,
so many layers of this free agency of like, man, we sign somewhere with somebody else, we can be there a long time and actually build something with them.
definitely. Yeah, and to your point, that's just the offensive side. Defensive
Yeah,
is the
and yeah,
exact
we're
same
not even
thing.
get to the defensive side yet. And there's a lot of defensive players that are just like right there in the age group where it's just like, bro, if I go with someone that's a contender, can ball out and help them, and they can help me, hoist that trophy.
Definitely. Yeah, that makes it's exciting times, and the anticipation is what's killing me, right?
Yeah,
Because
like exactly. Like now we gotta wait a whole week, be like to see if we were even close to being right.
yeah, most likely we're
That's the
not,
fun
but
part. And
yeah,
for the people that stayed the whole time during our film of this podcast, we definitely appreciate you. We love this is a lot of fun. We want to do more. We want to grow this community. Give us feedback, suggestions. Scold us if you don't think that you agree with me being mad about Dallas, like giving Dak a $500 million because we need to build a super team, whatever. Like that's the beauty of the thing about sports, that you have an open mind and you can talk about it. And um, like I said, I don't agree where we're heading with Dallas. Like I don't agree at all. Like just the whole quarterback situation. I would get if he would take a pay cut and extend.
yeah,
But like for him just to like lobbying, like nah, I don't really want to take a pay cut, but if we extend, it'll be less money. But I'm like, at this point, as much as it hurts, going back to that limbo theory, I'd rather be in limbo this 1 year of him doing a prove it year. Like it's your final year of contract, let's do a limbo prove it year, and then next year, if we had to build a young quarterback around with the super team, I'd rather do that way because I
yeah,
don't want to give you another 5 to 6 years of like $500 million of you to not do anything in the playoffs for another 6 years. Like I've waited almost 30 years to at least sniff the championship game. You've at least made it to the Super Bowl, but obviously you've never seen them win, like Chicago win this championship. But I'm like, we've waited this long. I don't care if I have to wait one or two more to get the right pieces for the right team for the future for the next 10 years. I'd rather have that than like going through limbo another 7, 8 years.
yeah. No, that's the thing. They got to figure that out, but I don't know. I guess time will tell with the Cowboys. I know you're frustrated, but deep down, you're optimistic. And so am I. I think that's what keeps bringing us back every year, right?
Well, and that's
Thinking that
that's
we
the
have a
beauty about
chance.
sports, right? Like we get mad at them when we don't win or whatever, and then like when we see them again, we're like, "Hey, man, like, hey, like my team's
It's
here,"
our year.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's my team, but our year. But yeah, like it's so cool. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Sun City Leatherheads podcast, our day one filming. We appreciate everything. Danny, you want to say anything?
No, just you said it all, but just want to reiterate that we're wanting to grow this channel and connect with NFL fans across the world, and also in the Sun City, right in our hometown.
Right, El
So
Paso, Texas.
we definitely welcome. I know this podcast here is not going to be live, but if there's anybody who wants to comment on what you think your teams are going to do this offseason for the free agency period or even the draft, like let us know, connect with us, give us some comments, and we'll respond.
And another reason why I reiterate El Paso, Texas, is because when we found out while we are trying to get this together, there is a Sun City, Arizona, apparently. So Sun City, Arizona, we want you to come and join also. We're not trying to be weird and take names, but for some reason El Paso's nicknamed the Sun City. So this is why we named it the Sun City Leather Podcast. But yeah, thank you all so much, and we appreciate everything that comes now and comes forward in the future. Next week, in a few days, whatever time, we're going to be filming for the defensive free agency right before free agency starts. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll see you soon.
Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on X. Look forward to
And
connecting with
Instagram.
you all. And Instagram. Thanks.
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.